we are talking about the 6 pillars of self-esteem, the definitive work on self-esteem by the leading pioneer in the field, Nathaniel. Nathaniel says that self-esteem is a need analogous to calcium rather than to food or water. Lacking it to a serious degree, we do not necessarily die, but we are impaired in our ability to function. See, you can live without self-esteem, but you can't live well or reach your full potential without it, just like you can't have a healthy functioning body without calcium. Nathaniel's simplest definition of self-esteem is the reputation that we acquire with ourselves. His 6 pillars of self-esteem are all geared towards improving that relationship instead of seeking self-esteem from the world outside of us. The tragedy of many people's lives is that they look for self-esteem in every direction except within, and so they fail in their search. Let's discuss each pillar, keeping in mind each pillar is a practice, meaning it must be done deliberately and repetitively for the rest of our lives to maintain and deepen our self-esteem. Have you ever driven home and then realized you don't remember any part of the drive? Or mid-conversation realized you have no idea what the other person is talking about because you tuned out unintentionally long ago? In both cases, you were being unconscious. The practice of living consciously is the first pillar of self-esteem. It is the foundation the rest of the pillars are built on. Living consciously is more than being aware of your thoughts and surroundings, but knowing your purpose, your values, and your goals, and then behaving in accordance with them. The practice of self-acceptance is the second pillar. Nathaniel said, without self-acceptance, self-esteem is impossible. Whereas self-esteem is something we experience, self-acceptance is something we do. If everyone's thoughts were broadcasted, I think we would see how prevalent self-rejection and loathing is among us. We have all heard of the golden rule, do unto others as you want done to you. But because people are so hard on themselves, psychologists have come up with the platinum rule, do not do unto yourself that which you would not do to others. So if you wouldn't tell your daughter that she is worthless because that boy broke up with her, don't allow yourself to think your divorce means you're worthless. I'm sure you can find many examples in your life when you have been downright ruthless to yourself in a way you would never dream of treating someone else. Don't worry. Self-acceptance doesn't prohibit self-improvement. It actually increases it. Nathaniel said, to understand this point, we must remind ourselves that accepting does not necessarily mean liking, enjoying, or condoning. I can accept what is and be determined to evolve from there. It is not acceptance, but denial that leaves me stuck. So once we accept ourselves as we are and give ourselves the same compassion we often bestow on others, we are primed and ready for the next practice. The practice of self-responsibility. Do you ever say things like, stop making me mad, or you're driving me crazy? Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent, and we can elaborate to say that no one can make you feel any which way without your consent. You and you alone are responsible for all of your choices and reactions. You have the ability to respond to any situation, and self-responsibility is choosing to act appropriately. It may be hard and it may be uncomfortable to take accountability for your life, especially when you mess up, but denying responsibility for yourself will slowly erode your self-esteem until it disappears altogether. Self-assertiveness is the next pillar of self-esteem. Nathaniel says, it simply means the willingness to stand up for myself, to be who I am openly, to treat myself with respect in all human encounters. It means a refusal to fake my person to be liked. And I talk a lot about refusing to fake who we are in order to gain acceptance from others in my book review of Presence. Check that out for tips on how to unapologetically be who you are. Living purposefully is the next practice. Purpose is the difference between being reactive to life and proactive. A reactive person is constantly reacting to their environment. The phone rings, so they stop what they're doing to answer it. Or they absolutely hate their job, but they don't do anything about it until outside forces like being laid off force them to. They react to life and are at the mercy of chance. But proactive people have standards, and those standards help them determine what is and what is not worth doing. They don't just react to their environment, they shape it. Again, it really goes back to defining for ourselves what is important to us, what are we passionate about, and then living our life in accordance with our own inner discovery. You are living purposefully when your time and your priorities are in harmony. And as much as living purposefully has to do with harmony of time and priorities, living with personal integrity, the sixth practice, is about living in harmony with your standards. It is very simple in theory, but can be very difficult to practice. Nathaniel sums it up in 2 sentences. Integrity means congruence. Words and behaviors match. So even small, seemingly inconsequential choices like fibbing about why you can't go to the party puts you out of integrity. Or let's just say that you value respect, but you scream and yell at your kids. Anytime you're out of alignment with your values, you damage the reputation you hold with yourself and, of course, your self-esteem in the process. Now, Nathaniel Branden is without question one of my favorite authors. I particularly like that in almost every chapter he blows your mind with his insight and his intelligence, but then he will give a personal example where he has failed or suffered the consequence of not implementing the principles perfectly. It is very endearing and a great reminder that everyone struggles with self-esteem, even the leading pioneer in the field. So check out my actualization worksheet. We will be doing sentence completion to assist you in implementing each pillar of self-esteem into your life. Let's end with a quote. If my aim is to prove I am enough, the project goes on to infinity, because the battle was already lost. On the day I conceded, the issue was debatable. Nathaniel Branden. Thank you for joining me, and you make it a great day.